So kind of like, it's almost inevitable that you're going to end up in jail by the end.
I mean, that's how most people feel about probation. Like, they really feel like, okay, this is set up for me to go back to jail because there's no way I can pay all of this stuff.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. So today's video, I've got a special guest from the States. So her name is Brittany, and she's known as your favourite PO on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere else. I've missed off any other channels that you're on?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah. So yeah, do you want to kind of say a bit about yourself, Brittany?
I was an adult probation officer for 4.5 years in the state of Texas. Like I said, I supervised adults, over 150 offenders at any given time. And I left that profession about 3 months ago. But now I just consult with other individuals about probation, help aspiring probation officers learn more about the field, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't know. So, yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to bring this, kind of do this video, is because, like you said, a lot of people don't know about probation. So when I saw Brittany's kind of profile and everything, I thought this is perfect. Like, if I was training or wanting to be a probation officer, I'd love to know how they do it over in the States. And I'm sure like the same for you guys, like you want to know like how do they do it in other countries? How do they do
yes, that is so interesting. I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, so we're going to talk to like kind of bring you that the similarities and the differences. So first thing that you mentioned, that you supervise, so you was an adult working with adults, and you supervised 150 at any one time. So is that your caseload? Your caseload is 150?
Yes, and it could go up to 175, but on average it was 150. Yeah, that's a lot to juggle.
That's the first difference right there. The first difference. So over here, so it's split into two. So there's the government-owned probation and the private-owned. I don't know if it's like that over there. And they split it just as I qualified. So in about 2014, there was a big like reform. So it all used to be one thing, and then they changed and said, no, we're going to split it. So some of you are going to work for the private sectors, some of you are going to work for the government. So the private sector, which is, I work for the government, so the private sector has high caseloads like that. They have about 100. So is yours split like that? Like government owned?
Most people on probation over here, it's all ran by the government, but there are some private probation offices, which that's kind of controversial. People don't really agree with that. They think like it's just for profit and they're just trying to make money. Which, you know, I don't have any experience working with them, or I don't know anybody who works in that private sector, but mostly government. And there's no caseload less than 120 for sure.
Wow.
Like you have
to Dude, that's crazy, because we over here, like I said, like if you're full-time, it's like 40, between 35 and 40, and like we're struggling.
What? Wow.
How does it work?
That's so small.
With 100?
Yeah, it's hard. So with your caseload being so small, do you still have to go to offenders' homes?
Yeah. See, I can't get over it. I think honestly 40 is like a lot. So I'm gonna go and tell all my colleagues, you've got nothing to worry about.
Nothing at all.
So yeah, we have 40, and some of them are, so yeah, we do home visits. Obviously because of COVID, we're not doing it at the moment. We're doing like doorstep checks. So we would have a designated person or a couple of people that just go to the doorstep to check if they're like living where they're living. But normally, yeah, we would do home visits on the offenders. And we supervise, so we've got some that are in prison, some in the community. Is it like that for you guys as well?
Yeah, similar, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and so I'm part-time because I've got children, so I work part-time. So my caseload is part-time is probably around 25, 27 part-time. So that's 3 days a week.
And are you required to see the offender once every month, or how often?
Well, it depends. So we have kind of guidelines, what they call like national standard guidelines. And if so, the government owned works with the like most high risk offenders, and the private sector are kind of low risk, medium risk offenders. The government is mainly violent and sexual offenders. So because of that, most of them are high risk, so we have to see them every week. But then if they are they've been high risk, but they've gone down to medium, or, you know, they're quite stable in kind of what they're doing, there's no reoffending, then they can be seen once every 2 weeks or once every month. Some lifers can be seen every 3 months. So how is it for you?
So that makes a bit more sense if you only have 40, maybe a caseload of 40 or 45. If you're seeing them every week or every 2 weeks, I mean, that is a lot.
Yeah.
But if somebody's supervising 150 offenders, you're typically seeing most of them only once a month. And then, some of them you might see every 2 weeks, just depending on how they're doing on probation. But most often it's just once a month. So maybe that's why the caseload is so much higher.
Yeah. So even if they're like high risk, like what happens to that high risk, violent sexual offenders? Are they seen monthly as well?
Yeah, they're seen weekly. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
And so we have specialized officers who handle only sex offenders, or who handle only high risk cases, and their caseloads are a lot smaller, or they handle only substance abuse cases, which their caseload might be 40 or 50, kind of like in the UK.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So maybe that's why. And that's why they split the government and the private sector. So the government kept all the like violent and sexual offenders.
How is the pay? Like, is the pay rate for the PO the same as in government and private?
Yes, it is, because when they changed, they kept all the terms and conditions the same. But I know that was only like a short-term thing. So I think there'll be more flexibility. You know, when they like hold on to your terms and conditions when you move company, so they kept it all. So at the moment, I think it's around about the same. So the pay, so when I was starting training, so I trained in London. So if you train in London, you get like what they call London waiting. So you get an additional like £3,000 in your salary, because London's an expensive city. So I think it was starting salary was like 24,000. So once you qualify, I think it went up to 27,000, almost £28,000. And then
how much is that in
dollars? Oh, we're gonna have to calculate that. I don't know. Let's have a look. Have you got your phone there? Let me have a look. Dollars.
Because I know a lot of probation officers, they complain about, we don't get paid enough for all this work that we do.
Yeah, same over here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just looking it up. Pounds and dollars. Okay, so £27,000 is about $35,487.
Okay, yeah, that's like comparable.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I did have a question. So if a probationer or an offender doesn't pay like supervision fees to their to their case in a set amount of time, do you guys issue warrants for them for their arrest? Do they go to jail?
So that's something new. So we don't have supervision fees. So we have like court fees. So when they've been sentenced for an offence, they'll pay like court costs or victim surcharge. So I think the victim surcharge is 60, and then court costs sometimes like a couple of £100, depending on their case. And it's only if they get sentenced to a fine. So do all of your people have supervision costs then?
Yeah, they have supervision fees, they have court fees, they have fines, and they have some more fees. It's just a lot of fees.
And they're basically paying to be on probation.
That's how most of them feel, yeah.
How much do they pay?
Well, monthly, the average is $60 just for supervision fees. And then they pay for the cost of the drug tests, which could be anywhere from $5 to $20 each. Yeah, and then they have to pay the fees for the classes, and they have to pay the fees to the court monthly, and then have to pay the fines to the court monthly. It's a lot.
Wow. So does that make them attend the classes, like more likely to attend the classes, or are they more likely to kind of just not go?
That's the thing. Most of them, they try to get it done, but most of the people on probation, they don't have money like that to be paying for all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they'll get to the end of their probation and it's not done, and then that's a violation, and then they end up going to jail because they didn't have the money to take the class. which is terrible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can they pay that off like slowly, like £1 a month?
No. If
So
you
if they
don't,
haven't paid it by the end of their probation, you go to
they
jail,
would.
basically.
They'll either go to jail or the probation will be extended to give them time to pay it off.
Wow. So what help do they get to pay it? Like, are you like helping them find jobs or?
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you have some probation officers that will go that extra mile, which would be like a really good probation officer, because most of them have so much on their plate already, they don't really have time to act as an employment recruiter or something. Like we have other stuff to do. But we try to hand out resources to let you know, okay, you can go here, look for work, or one of the other offenders tells me about a job, then I'll share it with everybody else.
Oh, so do you have like employment advisors that work as like for probation?
Not exactly. We kind of work with different agencies outside of probation that help. Yeah, but we don't have like that type of person on the probation staff.
Yeah, that's kind of how ours is as well. It used to be, and then since they changed it, so we now outsource that to like a private agency, and there's just like one person for the whole like local office. So if they want to be referred into that for like education and training help, it's up to them to go to those appointments. But they don't have to pay for it. It's there, it's free. So if they don't use it.
But then again, you think, and you're like, we're supervising adults. So at some point, we can help you as probation officers, but you have to help yourself too,
Yeah, definitely. So the supervision fee, so that's something different that we definitely don't have here. The drug tests, we have drug tests, but they don't pay for that. That's just like if it's a part of their license or their order, they just get tested, and it's normally like an outside drug agency, so it's like a separate drug agency, and they will go there to get tested. Some probation officers, we have like the testing kits, so we can do it ourselves, but most of them get it at that agency.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you're in Texas. I don't know if we mentioned that at the beginning. So you're in Texas state. So is it different like across the different states? Is there much variation, or is that pretty much standard?
As far as the supervision fees, that's consistent.
Yeah. So kind of like it's almost inevitable that you're going to end up in jail by the end.
It's funny. Okay, that's not funny, but I mean, that's how most people feel about probation. Like they really feel like, okay, this is set up for me to go back to jail because there's no way I can pay all of this stuff.
Yeah, and how long do they get a set amount of time in jail? So when they say, okay, you're not gonna, if you don't pay your fees, is there just a set like, okay, you're just gonna get 4 weeks, or like how do they work it out?
It's basically a violation of your probation. So whatever sentence the judge was going to give you prior to letting you get on probation. So say for instance, they were going to give you 3 months in county jail.
Yeah.
But instead of giving you 3 months in county jail, they're going to give you 1 year on probation.
Yeah.
So you're going to go back to that 3 months that they were
trying to give you anyway.
Yeah.
And that's for everyone. So what about, so like here we have, if you go to prison and you've got like 4 years for 4 years offence for like drug offences, you'll serve half. So you come out at like 2 years. So you serve 2 years in prison, 2 years on probation. Do you have that over there?
Yes. But most often when people get out of prison, which is different from the jail, they'll go on parole. So that's a whole different whole different type of agency. So it's separated.
Oh, okay. So we do all of it. So we have the parole people. So we see all of them basically. Like we're the one agency for that. So if someone comes out of prison, we will work with them whilst they're in prison, but from the outside. But they'll also have a prison probation officer. And then when they come out at that like halfway point, we have to prepare for all their release, put all the release plans in place, figure out where they're going to live, and kind of manage all that for them coming out, like put together their, like, we call it license conditions. So it's like their kind of rules for when they come out on like prison license. And then we also have parole cases for those that are like life sentences.
If you like that, you can see more in our next video. Don't forget to subscribe and like to both of our channels.